looking at these 5 things right here, we have discipline, patience, resilience, emotional control, and intuition. So looking at the markets, and you might feel that you're getting stressed, right? You're not in a position, and you might start thinking like, I really want to be in a position, and you start getting stressed of that. Now, to me, that's my brain signaling that it's time to be on the lookout and be on high alert for, making mental errors. And that's the part of that emotional control, to kind of like try to manage your emotions and also identifying that emotion. Obviously, part of that is discipline, right? But discipline is not something that you're born with. It's not something that just automatically happens, right? What I find is you have to have rules and be disciplined in following those rules. Most people are just not disciplined people. They understand when they are disciplined, right? And we all have levels of discipline. So you need to find the hours of the day that works well for you to be trading. So now, for example, after the live stream, I know that I'm not supposed to be trading because, one, I've been recording content all day. So I've been here hours and hours just talking to the camera, and that kind of destroys my discipline in a sense because I get tired, right? You're not that, a superhuman. You're not that superhuman trader that can just be open up the chart at every hour of the day and you start trading very well. And same thing goes with patience, right? If you're not disciplined, you're not going to be able to be patient. And without that discipline, you're not going to be able to be resilient, right? So you need to have rules around all of this. I think the only part of this list is that you can't really have rules on is intuition, because intuition comes later. So there's this book called Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, and he talks about the final stage of trading. And the final stage of trading is the intuitive stage. With time, you will start to be able to trade based on intuition. And what I believe is the intuitive stage of trading is based on creating a mental edge, right? So you have your technical edge. Everyone can have a technical edge, and that will happen quite quickly in your trading journey. You will be able to see an entry trigger, right? For me, hit the reload zone, engulfing candle, that's my entry trigger. Very, very simple. But the mental edge, that's going to be very, very difficult. That's where you really have to spend your time to develop that mental edge. And when you have that mental edge, you also start to enter the intuitive state of trading, and where all of these 5 things will start to kind of combine.
When you are tired, when a lot of things are going wrong, you fall back to the systems that you put in place to continue what you're doing. So let's say you've got a problem with overtrading, then you need to have a system in place that shows you, first of all, to indicate if you are overtrading, and if you are overtrading, what are you going to do if that happens. So let's say if you're on a diet and you're getting a bit of a craving to eat chocolate, well, you're not going to stand in the kitchen where there's a bar of chocolate in the cupboard. You're going to do something to take yourself out of the situation that is going to cause those cravings or that trigger. Let's say, I don't know how many people here are smokers, but let's say you're a smoker and that one person that you're always around, that when you see them, you start to get a craving to smoke. Then you're not going to be, if you're trying to stop smoking, you're going to cut being around that person as much, so you stop getting the cravings to do the things that you're doing. Same thing with revenge trading. If you feel like you're getting a craving, FOMO, to get into a trade, the best thing is to have a system to cut that out. And the one thing that you can do, let's say if you put it into actionable things, is if I take more than 3 trades in a day and I get the feeling that I want to continue, I've got to have a hard rule that I'm going to stop. I'm going to go outside for a walk for 10 minutes. I'm going to come back in front of the computer, and then I'm going to assess if I still want to take that trade, or if now I've realized that it was just a silly trade because I was bored. things like
Yeah.
that. Those things you've got to put into place, because just to say I'm disciplined and I'm going to be disciplined, unfortunately, isn't enough.
Not making this mistake is right before you make it, right? You stop yourself right before you make it. And the second best time is like right when you enter the trade. If you do realize that this I shouldn't be entering this trade, just exit. Just take the loss. When you realize that you're in a bad trade, just exit the trade. It's going to be much easier for you, because for some reason we find it easier to let our to be underwater on the position is much easier than to be in profit in terms of like letting the trade run is much harder than what's the saying? We're impatient with our winners and patient with our losers, and you get it kind of like you had to flip that around.
And you need to be more reflective to be able to, and that is when the importance of review comes into play, because it is in those reviews that you will see when things start going south, and you will have to be honest with yourself and look yourself into the mirror and ask yourself, why am I doing this? In other words, what are my triggers? That's what Alex was referring to. What is my trigger?
What's your triggers?
That makes me do this? Like, say in the same analogy of that chocolate bar and you being near it in the kitchen, that's the trigger. You seeing that chocolate bar when you open the fridge or when you open the cabinet. So if that is the trigger, then you know you need to avoid the trigger. In this case would be not have the chocolate in your house to begin with, right? So the same analogy is applicable for our mind or ourselves. If you know that your trigger is, for example, losing 3 in a row, coming back to what Jonatan said, then you need to put something. You can't avoid having 3 in a row because you don't control what the market will do in any given day. But if you can identify the triggers, that's your first step to do something about it. Because if you can't identify it, then it's going to happen over and over again, and you're still not knowing why it happened and how to deal with it. The first is to identify the trigger through reviews, through being reflective, and think about things, about yourself, where knowing yourself comes into play. What kind of person am I? What am I thinking when I have a loss? Do I think it's unfair because I put in all these hours and I am entitled to that win? When you see that that's the trigger, for example, if that is the case, then you will say, okay, so the trigger is me having a sense of entitlement for the winner. That's the problem, perhaps, because you cannot decide. The market will do whatever it does, and whether it's going to be a winner, the next one is going to be a winner or a loser, is something that's out of your control. You need to accept that and not feel any entitlement to anything. So in that occasion, that will be the trigger, that thought you had.
Traders are a little bit like thermostats, and I'll go into what I mean by that. If you ever notice that you've got 2 levels, the one level where you get to where you're losing in the account, and now you have to be super disciplined. You're in your drawdown and okay, if I'm not disciplined now, if I don't adhere to all of my risk, if I don't adhere to all of my rules, I'm going to lose this account. So I'm going to be super, super strict. Or maybe you've blown an account and you're saying, now I've blown another account and now I'm going to take it super seriously. I'm going to start journaling. I'm going to keep to my rules, all of these different things. And you start doing that. Eventually, you start to build up your account, you start to build up profits, and you get to the top of that thermostat where you start to say to yourself, wow, I'm making money, I've got it back, I'm really confident. And the overconfidence then starts to make you slip your rules. You're like, okay, now I'm starting to put on a little bit too much on the position. Now I've lost a little bit, now I'm going to try and get that back and start revenge trading. So we see a lot of traders, they just do this up and down, a little bit like a heart monitor in a hospital. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down. And to get yourself out of that kind of range is only going to happen once you put the systems in place for you to actually do that. And once you can do that, then you will maybe move up to the next range, the next thermostat level in your trading journey. If you take a look at your trading, you will probably find that range where your trading is in. If you are a break-even trader, then you can see the range that the days that you're making money and then you go back to being break-even and a little bit in drawdown, and you get back to that level. For the traders that are profitable, maybe you've got a certain amount of money that you get to, let's say like $10,000 in your account, and then suddenly, as soon as you hit that $10,000 in your mind, suddenly you can't get past that. It's like a milestone or a brick wall, and then you go back down to like 5%. These different things, the only way you can get through that is what Victor has said, is being really understanding yourself and understanding what is going on with your trading and understanding these things, and then putting in the systems in place to get you out of that particular range at the time.